welcome to the I Ching Cafe. My name is Belinda Dowston, and it is awesome that you are here with me for our weekly I Ching forecast for the week commencing the 22nd of September 2025. You know how this goes. We go back and we look at last week to see what did we learn retrospectively from last week's flows of change. We had Hexagram 51, shock, shake up, one thing after another, shaking up that energy, loosening us up, firing up our energy where it was dormant and stuck, and getting us going, waking us up through lots and lots of activity and lots of unexpected changes. And perhaps you experienced that negatively, lots of difficulties, lots of things coming at you, and perhaps you had that positively. A sudden surprise, a wonderful idea, something shaking you up and getting your energy moving, clearing the air like a thunderstorm does, and getting you into action. And of course, last week with that hexagram, it was all about not losing our minds, not dropping the egg, not dropping our focus on what's important, just holding that spoon with that egg. And despite all the things happening, staying focused on what's really important. Plus, we had the lovely hexagram 55, abundance, the harvest energy, the culmination energy coming to bring us that harvest and that abundance. And so for you, what was the shake-up and the showering of blessings for your week? We all had something that was coming in, an overflow of good things, of abundance, and of course, an abundance of seeds that we've planted in the past. Can also be an abundance of weeds. It depends what we've been planting. So if there was anything that came up for you last week in working with shock and abundance, please do share. I had blessings come in last week, lots and lots of blessings, which were a little bit overwhelming to process at the time. So for me, that was that combination of energy that I was working through. Okay, so let's work with this week's I Ching energy. What are we being asked to pay attention to more than any other thing around us right now? All 64 hexagrams can be with us at any point in time. What these forecasts do is they allow us to focus on the ones that are popping out of the quantum soup, wanting to be paid attention to. This is where we are growing this week when we work with these hexagrams and changing lines. Very different energy. Okay, after the shock and the shake-up and the activity and all that stuff from last week, this week we are heading into hexagram 33, retreat. Perhaps we're needing to take a little bit of time out for regrouping. Retreat is the hexagram when we come across an experience, a moment, a process in our journey where the wisest, most strategic thing that we can do is withdraw. Okay. Even if that withdrawal is for a limited time period, for a moment, it's based on the idea of when you're in battle and you have the invading army that you're facing against, you've got to get to a point where if you are needing to reevaluate your position, your strategy, your team, regroup, refresh and renew your team, you have to retreat, okay? Because if you are not going to get what you need to do by continuing on the battlefield, and all that happens is you completely wear yourself out and use up all your resources, the wise thing to do is to retreat. It's not running away if it's a strategic decision to say, this is not going to get us where we need to go. We need to take a time out to reevaluate. We need to go in and rest. We need to give our troops a chance to eat and rest, right? And drink water. Okay, so we work with this idea of retreat in making a conscious decision, right, to withdraw from something. And sometimes I experience in feedback of people around me working with this hexagram is that the opportunity to go and do a retreat manifests, like a strategic retreat or a weekend away. It's those kinds of things where we remove ourselves from the battlefield, right? What's online, our main kind of focus, and we remove ourselves for a little bit to renew, review, replenish, re-strategize. And so anything that you're doing where you are removing yourself, what's critical is to allow yourself to think about, how can I reset? Where am I going? What's working? What's not working? How can I reset, reevaluate, and then move back out after that time period with a fresh view, with a focus on a direction that's important. So we're all being asked to think about withdrawing from something. It can literally be taking some time out in the week, right, to have some me time or reflection time or quiet time. It's just removing yourself from the everyday for a little bit. But it can tune you into a bigger cycle, a bigger decision, a bigger awareness that the I Ching is trying to bring you this week, which is, where do I need to retreat from something permanently? Okay. Where do I need to, over maybe the next 2-3 months, there's something I need to step back from for a time period. So it might not necessarily be just a small thing of just taking some time out. What this week might bring your awareness to is where you are on that battlefield with the troops and you're going for it. And there's an area here where we are not up to this task in this moment. Not that we can't, ever, but right now, in this moment, on this field, we just don't have what it takes to be victorious in this moment. What we have to do is we have to retreat. And so pay attention to where you have been in a situation of gunning for it and throwing more and more troops behind, moving forward. Where are the areas that you are not up to the task? Your team, your business, whatever it is, your family, you're tackling something that you don't have the energy now to be victorious now. And let's see how we can use this energy of retreat to take a step back into that cave. Okay. Take a time out, review, renew, replenish, re-strategize, and then you're ready for a new day, a new advance. Okay, we can do this. 2 changing lines in the second and the third position. Let's get into those lines. Okay, so the changing lines are bringing us something specific related to retreat that can help us in developing this focus, something specific we need to pay attention to here. And changing line 2 talks about how, despite trying to move forward, you've got the people that you're retreating from, okay, what you're retreating from, holding on to your jacket, your leather coat, holding on to your jacket and being dragged behind you. Okay. So you can imagine that you are trying to escape from, the I Ching talks about the inferior people and you're trying to be a superior person, but people who are not of the highest, and you're trying to make your way in a principled way, and you have these hangers on, hanging on for dear life to your jacket, okay, trying to keep you in the game, and they're very, very heavy and they're clinging for dear life. But the thing that we need to do is, despite that, we need to put our head down, engage the core, and soldier on, keep retreating. Okay, there's something here that's really important for us to keep on doing, to keep on moving out of the situation, out of the thing that we're retreating from. Okay, so we are not unable to retreat. We just have to really put our head down and engage the core and push forward, persevere in the retreat work, in the thing that we're wanting to do, in the direction we're wanting to head in. And that is how we work with this energy. And it can be like, you're trying to get out of a relationship or a business partnership or a strategic alliance or a lease. Okay. And despite your efforts of trying to move forward out of this thing, this entity, these people, this group are hell bent on trying to keep you in. And you have to just really focus and put your energy in and soldier forward. That's what we have to do. And then line 3. Line 3, position 3 is a tricky one because we're about to cross the chasm, right? That gap between the bottom trigram, bottom 3 lines, and the top trigram, and top 3 lines. And we're in this little space where we need to try and get over the bridge. Okay, this line is a challenging line. It talks about halted retreat. Okay, we're trying to retreat, but we are just encountering all kinds of difficulties stopping us from doing what we need to do. A web of challenge. Okay, so it is a tricky line. And we want to get out of this thing, we want to move forward, but we're just so stuck and we're like being dragged down and we can't get out of it and we can't move. Lots of problems. Okay, so in working with this line, there's two key things. One is we stay at home, okay, and this is a symbolism of not trying to reach too far out of our home base. It's almost like going within the home of the self of our home, our family, of like staying in the home base, right, of what we know, just dealing with these things, the web of challenge. And the second part of it is inviting the helpers. And they talk about the kind of manservants and maidservants who you need to keep with you at home to help you. So it's about having helpers. All right. So there's a process here of a web of challenge, things that are just trying to keep you back from moving forward or out of a situation. All right. What are you retreating from? And there's a lot of challenge. And despite all your efforts, oh, it feels like you just can't get anywhere. Stay at home, stay in your center, okay, stay in your safe space, and get the helpers around you to mobilize to get through this. Engage the helpers that are there. Bring on helpers to the situation. So we work with this idea that in this web of challenge, in all these things that seem to be holding us back, ghosts of the past, okay, issues from the past that suddenly appear, okay, we stay at home, we stay in our center, and we invite the helpers that are all around us to come and assist. Okay, we mobilize them to do their jobs, to do the work that they're there to do. And if we're short of a few manservants, it gets them all. Okay, so there's something around enabling help that's really important in mobilizing the help that's all around you, even if it's not just a manservant. Okay, family members, team members, friends. What is it that you could reach out to help you bring the energy you need to retreat from the things you're trying to get out of at this time? Okay, so one changing line where you're being pulled back by, these hungry ghosts that are clinging onto your jacket, but you can get somewhere by persevering and having a commitment to the purpose that you are here to fulfill. And then in changing line 3 is maybe towards the second half of the week, we start to see some challenges in getting out of things, getting into a retreat, lots of difficulties, and engaging help, staying focused on the home in our center is absolutely critical. Not the time for wild side adventures. Okay, stay focused. That gives us a second hexagram. Do you want to know what it is? Ooh. Okay, it is hexagram 6, conflict. Okay, so this is going to be an interesting week. We've got retreat. We're trying to get out of things we know that are not for our highest and our best. We've got hangers on. We've got web of challenge. And then we have conflict. Oh, joy. Not all weeks are like this, I promise. Okay. So hexagram 6, conflict, is 2 ideals, 2 parties, 2 individuals clashing head on. Okay. Both of equal power. All right. And you do not get anywhere by these two bison, that's how I always see it, running and hitting heads against each other. We don't get anywhere by having an open conflict, all right? Nobody wins a conflict. Think about all the wars around our world. No one's a winner in a war. Like, no one benefits. It's crazy. So when we think about conflict, what this hexagram brings to us, the development that we are here to do this week, is when we come across a conflict, which can also be an inner conflict, okay, where we're conflicted internally, which is a harder one to deal with, we learn how to de-escalate the conflict. The superior person, as spoken of in the I Ching, de-escalates the conflict and tries to find a negotiating position where the 2 parties can agree on something. See it as a Venn diagram, okay? The 2 circles overlapping. And where the 2 circles overlap, there's a common negotiating area where the parties can agree on something. All right. The superior person tries to bring those 2 circles together and create as large as a negotiating area as possible. Commonality. Okay, we can work from a place of common good and common understanding when we bring those 2 circles together. An inferior person, according to the I Ching, escalates the conflict and pulls apart the 2 circles to prevent them from even touching. Okay. And all that person wants to do is win. Okay. When parties do that, when they engage in a conflict and they pull apart the circles, what happens is either side wants to win at the expense of the other side. And that is not how we win a conflict. Okay, that is not how we overcome a conflict. We overcome the conflict by bringing the two circles overlapping, creating as big a negotiating area as possible, as big a common understanding area as possible. Bring it together. So, I do not need to even reference what is happening in our crazy world to show how we all lose when the rings are pulled apart and how we win when we bring them together and we find a space. We find a little common area from which we can work and we move from there. In our personal lives, we are going to be challenged this week that when we want to win, okay, how do we then bring the circles closer together? De-escalate. We in relationships all know our loved ones, our family members, our colleagues, our employers, bosses. Every person has a big red nuclear button. Okay. And that button is our trigger or triggers. Okay. I'm sure we all have multiple. And when we work closely with people and we are conscious, okay, we know what the big red nuclear button is, okay? The thing that we could say in this moment, the thing that we could do that would just send that other person over the edge. And very often, sadly to say, we take our hand and we go, bah! Okay, because we know that that button is going to just send that person out into the stratosphere, okay? We do it consciously and we also do it unconsciously. Because if we aren't learning, there's the big red button. I can go and whack it and do what I always do, all right, and trigger this other person. Or I can take responsibility to not pushing that big red nuclear button. I can find other ways of de-escalating the situation and getting those two circles, all right, creating a Venn diagram, overlapping, finding a place where we agree. So, don't push the button, okay, your own or someone else's. If you feel that trigger building up, if you feel that urge to hit that button to win, take a step back, take a moment and say, de-escalate. De-escalate. Remember the I Ching, de-escalate, Venn diagram, find a common negotiating area. What is the one thing we can agree on? And start from there. All right, build from there. Don't pull apart the rings because you want to win. All right, we've got a challenge ahead of us this week and we can overcome it, right? We can overcome this retreat and some of these difficulties that we have in getting out of situations by de-escalating the conflict, all right? Taking down the temperature. Okay, that's what we have to do this week. It's a skill, it's a life skill, it's a thing that we need to master. And this week we're getting the opportunity to put it into practice. Okay, thank you so much for being here with me this week. Please like, thumbs up if this was useful for you. Share if there's someone who needs to not push that big red button. And of course, if you are new to the channel, hit the subscribe, the bell, or the follow button to get episodes straight into your app. And I'll see you soon for our last weekly overview for September. Until then, take care.